right. First, let me start with a question. Who of you is already actively using Liferay Commerce in a real project? Maybe except from the Liferay guys. All right, that are some people already. Who is planning to use Liferay Commerce but isn't actively working on it? All right, okay, not that much. But what I am talking about today is a lot of customers in history are having customer portals where they present their products to their customers in a way like they started with Liferay. So they created web content, they displayed the information, they didn't sell anything, but they could help the customers a bit to get more information about their products. So more and more people are now asking for the next step to not only display information, but to also give them a needless customer experience with the same look and feel over all their occurrences. So how do we get those old content to the new commerce features? This is what the talk is about, and first I will talk a little bit about the history, where do we come from, then where do we want to get to, then one project I'm currently in, the present, and also how we would do the same things if we had some more features. So this is our back to the future. But just one short thing, don't worry, it won't be too much about the company. We are from USU Digital Consulting. We are also having a booth downstairs. So if you have any questions about this topic or any other topic, just come to us and ask all your questions. We have 250 people working in consulting business. We have 400 million in revenue, a lot of customers, and many years, 45 years in experience. And we are located in Germany, mainly in Möglingen, that's near Stuttgart, Munich, Bonn, and Berlin. What we are selling is digital experience at its finest. So we are having 3 parts, which I'm not gonna talk a lot about because what we're doing is digital experience for customers. So we are starting from a digitalization strategy, going through development up until the application management. So if you want to provide a system, but you don't want to manage it yourself, we can do that also for you. So now we're going to the history, and now we're going to the real topic of the talk. So in the history, we had customer portals with CMS functions. I talked about that already a bit. So we had sometimes structures for every product, so we could decide, is it a news feature or news content, or is it product content? Maybe it wasn't even structured that much, it was just basic web content or some other development. We had also no additional functionality from the web content, so we had no cart, we had no wish list, no compare function, and so on, except for maybe it was developed as a custom development. So we also had a lot of customers that had additional systems that were selling the commerce. So they were using, I don't know, like SAP, some other things. And always when the customer clicked on the product and wanted to buy it, something changed. So the look and feel was different, sometimes more different, sometimes more similar, but always it has some changes. So to get a needless look and feel, why don't use the single source of truth, the Liferay Commerce? Also in the history we had less complex situations mostly, where a customer could see mostly all products in the normal case, and that was maybe published in a site, and other sites were with other content. So we always had the thing, either you are on that site or you can't see the product. In commerce, we have much more targeted possibilities to show the products to our customers. So maybe you can think of the castle here as the old robust CMS, which is still valid for the content management, but you might think of something with more capabilities, something more future-like that has more cart, has checkout, and so on. And together they are bringing really a feature-rich portal to the customer who can that can cover all the things you need to have. So, enabling features and adding systems. This is what we want to do. So we want to have the additional features I just mentioned, like the card and so on. And we want to integrate the portal in our whole system landscape. So almost every customer has some ERP system where the checkout at the end goes to. In the past, it had to show up, it looked different. Now we can use it as a backend system that just keeps getting the data, but don't has to be shown up and to be customized to look similar to our whole web experience. So one reason is why we would use this in the same portal. The data is already there. We have the data and we have the look and feel, so why don't use it as a single source of truth and as an integration platform. So also to enrich the data, not only to be content, but to have also links to objects, to other features and so on, to the whole experience Liferay is providing. Again, I don't go over all those things. So what are our steps to go to that future? What are we doing in the present? First, we have to find the right solution, because commerce is complex, commerce is powerful, and you have to find the right thing for the customer. You can do things in different ways, but only one thing is fitting the customer perfectly. So we have to make our requirements clear and find the right structure we can then configure to then go migrating the data. That data can be in web content, like I mentioned before, but it can also be individual development, like Service Builder in earlier times, or even different CMS systems. So we have one customer at the moment who uses a different CMS because at that point they thought that what was the better solution. Now they are going fully to Liferay, so they may have noticed what is the better CMS. So we have there the problem, the data isn't in Liferay already, but in a different database, luckily already structured. So what are we doing to migrate the things? No matter what kind of data we have, there is some database that we can access. In our case, we are then using the ETL system, like could be Talent or Telex, to transform the data and use the Liferay REST API to put in all the data that we need in a structured way and in a system that we can then develop further. The data are then available in Liferay and we can display them, we can enrich them and use it like we want. And also then, after we migrated the data and are ready to go, we then step by step only added the additional features that we needed. So first migrating the data, then adding a card functionality, a checkout, and so on. So basically it's very simple. We're just using two REST endpoints. The thing for taxonomy, so we're adding categories and tags like they were available before. And we are using the headless commerce admin catalog, which can then add the products to a channel or to a catalog, and then display those in the right sites or in the right spots. So let me show you the demo I prepared for today, and possibly I'm logged out already. Yes. To stay in the theme, okay, you don't see my screen right now, so we have to switch the display. Can you show my desktop, please? Yeah. Bin ich. This one. Yeah, so I can, is it duplicate? All right, yeah. So we have a page that could be the old CMS like we had it. We have some news articles, we have some blog maybe, and we are having our products, which are also content with our image, with the categories we have, with the name and some short description. And if we now migrate the data, we are going to see some differences showing up immediately. Maybe the prices were also in the structure before, so they are showing up as well. And we can then directly use the commerce category navigation to filter all those, which we could basically also do in CMS, but we can also even use the features here to add something to the cart and go to the checkout. Also, if we have another channel, we can use the same data we have to promote those to a different use case, because here this one is a B2B channel selling to different companies, and we have here then the possibility to easily use the Liferay features that are out of the box available, just using style books, master pages, and so on, just changing one element to have a different look and feel. In this case, it's just the colors, but I think you have enough imagination to what is also possible with that. Going back to the presentation, most things you saw right now were out-of-the-box features used with just configuration, but there is still some development needed. So one thing I used are asset renderers. So if you think of CMS right now, mostly it's fragments, it's objects mainly sometimes, but you're always using some new features if possible. In commerce, I think there are some limitations. You can use fragments, but if you want to use the search utility, it often is easier, but not impossible, to use the asset renderer. Also, when you use fragments, I've noticed that there are some things that aren't available as an info item. So the info framework isn't as far as it is for CMS. So some workarounds have to be implemented. So I created a context contributor, for example, providing helper class features to, for example, get the default image link to show it in a fragment. Also, additional product fields. If you want to add right now additional fields to a product, you can add to the system object for commerce products a field, but that doesn't show up in the UI. So you can do that in another way. If you use the old expando or custom fields, then it will show up in the edit mode, and we will have that available for the customer to edit. Also, a lot of customers ask for, we don't want this simple product type, virtual product type, grouped and diagram. We also want to have our specific things displayed, and this is one thing I also implemented just simply with one OSGI class. Another thing is the data provider. So I also talked to the product management yesterday. If you have a display page template, you can use it as you use it in the CMS, but you don't have the images available as a collection. So you have the attachments, not the images. So I've written a data provider that also makes it possible to use images in a collection. Also payment methods, but this is something CMS also was custom. But if you have nothing fitting like PayPal or so on, if you have any pay by anything else, you still have to implement a payment method, but that's also pretty straightforward, I'd say, with the documentation from Liferay. Also, if you want to make it easier to add new features to the product or new fields, another possibility to adding objects as a relation is to add a screen navigation that adds another tab at the top of the product edit mode, and you can there link or even display the object fields you've linked to the product. So I've got a bit of code. I'm not gonna make it very huge. We can still use it later. I can also show it in the IDEs to make it bigger. But as you can see in almost everything of that, it is just OSGI components with not that much code. Just the helper class. This could get a little bit longer, so I'll just switch to the IDE. The commerce context helper I've created in this case has some more methods, like getting the default image, like getting also the catalog entries, and also the getting the categories as a string format, a special string format. So this is not that long. It's 120 lines. So, but if you're going forward in the product, you will still find a lot of steps where you can, what you have to implement some more methods. So it could get pretty long. So this is what we're currently working at. This is ongoing development, so they are adding more. We are adding more code to that. But what is the potential that we could also use in the product? The system object fields, I already told you, aren't showing up. If we add new fields to the product, they are going to be able to be filled with the REST API, but not in the UI. So you either have to use expander fields if the type fits you, because you don't have the rich text, for example, in expander fields, but you have dates, for example, so you could easily add a date. I can also show you that one. If I'm going to the time machine, for example, then you can see here, I've added an expander field. Without any ado, it shows up here in the edit view, and you can here change something, for example, setting when the product will be highlighted with a tag in the product overview. So another thing is the localization. We mostly go with English, so I think this is fine for most customers. There are some that are, for example, in our case, using German first, and also the editors are using Liferay in German, so they have some problems here, so they won't see the titles, for example, if they created the product in English, or someone created the product in English and they changed to German. And yeah, so this could be improved to make it more seamless for the editor. which can be fixed if you really edit all the translations you need. So it's a bit of a workaround, but it could be improved like it is in CMS already. Another thing we came across is adding complex option types. So you have a lot of option types. Yeah. I can also show you that one. So I'm just creating a option. Just creating a new one. For those who don't know what options exactly are available, we have select from list, text, single selection, multiple selection, and so on. And if this is not enough, there is the possibility to add another OCI class to add your option to the list. But be careful, there's at the moment currently one error showing up if you do so. And you have to enable this option in the system settings. So even if you add the option to the Liferay and deploy it, it won't show up until you set the system setting to show your option. And I've talked to the product management yesterday as well about that. The error that is showing up currently is going to be fixed soon. So then it's possible to also develop those options you need here. Like maybe you create email as an option type because you want the user to input the email, for example. Then the second thing is events, services, and other virtual products. Right now, if you're creating a product and you're selling it to the customer, they go to checkout, the inventory is every time counted down. So you either have to set a very high number or allow them to go into minus, but it's not really the optimal way to sell a service or other things that aren't having a impact on the inventory. So this is maybe one thing that would optimize selling services. It is possible, but with some tweaks at the moment. So my recommendation is doing one step at a time. I've mentioned it before. So first migrate the data, make the requirements clear. First make the requirements clear, then migrate the data. And after you filled in the data and the customer has his first view on what is possible with the standard, then slowly let them implement one use case after the other. So don't make too much in one step, just take one step after the other so it won't get too complex, and you can adjust to the customer needs if they realize something isn't in their way and they changed their mind and wanted a different way. So that's all about this topic. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me anything. Also, if you don't want to ask now, feel free to also come to the booth tomorrow. And thank you very much.